Hi, friend.
Hi, friend.
And to the Bravehearts listening out there, welcome to Permission to be Human. I'm Andrea.
And I'm Janelle.
Get ready for some real-time relationship woo and wisdom
from the front lines with occasional tantrums and tears
about how breaking rules, blurring boundaries, and tossing tradition can be catalysts for finding your truth.
Let's debunk the fairy tales we were told as children and create a new map for life.
Yes, Disney can go fuck itself.
If you're seeking permission to choose your own path,
freedom is the new F word, people,
and want to feel less alone along the way,
we got you. Please note, this is our side of the story. Our partners and metamors have their own individual experiences, and we do not speak for them. Hi, friend.
Hey, Andrea.
Welcome to Permission to be Human, Bravehearts.
We're so glad you're here.
Oh, today. What are we talking about today? I'm super excited.
Me too.
It's about erotic massage. We are going to tell you 5, maybe 10 reasons why you should get an erotic massage.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to talk about the benefits, where to get one, and why they are all the rage.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so let's dive into erotic massage. Janelle, what the hell is an erotic massage?
It's a full body massage that includes the genitals. And if it's for women, then it can also include the breasts. Right? Think about how many massages that we've gotten where they don't touch the breasts, they don't touch the stomach.
Yeah.
Certainly don't touch the genitals. And so this is including the entire body and activating energy through the whole body. And it may or may not include an orgasm. And for women, it often includes an internal massage of the yoni. And so it can also be called a yoni massage or a tantric massage.
There's just processing the different level of relaxation you might get, different for different people, but when you're having a full body massage versus a typical massage. Like you are like doing this intimacy dance with that person because they are touching you. But of course, they're not going near your breasts. They're not going near your genitals. They're being very careful. And so there is just this kind of boundary held, obviously, in any good massage therapist's world.
Right.
That they're being careful about. But you can only relax so much when you know that there is a boundary that could be crossed that is not supposed to be crossed.
I don't know. I have the experience of if I know what to expect, then I can relax into that. Right. So I know with a regular massage, right, they're always draping the towel and the sheet a certain way.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, that's it. But what I end up finding in a typical massage is like, oh, I'd love for you to touch my breasts, or I'd love for you to massage my stomach. Right.
I see.
And so the erotic massage is just saying, okay, all of it gets to be included if you want it to be included. So now some people, when I say like, oh, orgasm can be part of this, might go straight away to a happy ending massage.
Yeah, totally. I thought about this. I put it in the script originally. So I was like, there was an HBO special. There was an HBO TV series that was all about the massage and the happy ending.
So I didn't, of course, watch that episode or that series. But so while there's some like truth in that, right? That like if you're equating an orgasm to a happy ending, right? But the difference with erotic massage in the context of how we're going to be talking about it today is that the erotic massage is really in the realm of sacred sexuality, of spirituality, and that there's a very deep intention of moving energy in our bodies that's part of like a healing modality.
Yeah.
That isn't just about, we're trying to feel good at this very superficial level. It is really activating something deeper in ourselves.
Yes, and it definitely does not feel goal-oriented.
Correct. Right.
Okay. So some happiness, but not necessarily a happy ending. Got it.
And it is also for men too. And the difference for men is that if they were going to do any internal work, it would be internal through the anus.
Okay. And does this have anything to do with a holistic pelvic floor specialist or a womb continuum care specialist? Because I know we did an episode on that recently, and this seems somewhat similar or somewhat close. Help me understand the difference.
I'm going to use what the holistic pelvic floor specialist said to me, which is that there's a spectrum, right, of genital touch. There is the genital touch that comes from when you go to the OB-GYN, right? And you have a speculum, and it's very clinical, and it's cold and sterile. And then that's on one end of the spectrum.
Negative association, I would say.
Or I'm not even going to say negative because it has a purpose, right? Like it's very health focused. Are you sick? How do we, like, is there something wrong with you? Right?
Yes, but I don't look forward to it. Like, it's fine.
Right.
I know I have to do it.
Yes.
But I'm not thrilled about it.
Right.
Right.
And then on the other end of the spectrum would be these erotic massages, which are activating eros and life force energy. They do welcome, like as I said, like orgasm to release, but they're in the realm of sacred sexuality, spirituality. And then the holistic pelvic care specialist is in the middle of that, right? She's going to have way more training than I do on the body anatomy than an erotic masseuse, most likely. But is also not going to be necessarily as like shamanic, sexual, or spiritual. So
beautifully said. There's a spectrum. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. That helps me understand it. So have you had an erotic massage yourself?
Oh, yes.
Why don't you tell me all about it?
I've had many, many, many. And I would say, while I haven't actually had that many orgasms through erotic massages, I have become much more orgasmic as a result. I've had probably more than 10.
What does that mean? You become more orgasmic.
It means that what my experience was that I had so much stuck energy in my womb area. And I'm equating stuck energy to feelings of shame, of guilt, of fear around my pleasure. Now, I wasn't someone who had pain during sex, and I was able to orgasm. But in getting these erotic massages, I was able to, like, so much moved through me and didn't necessarily feel good. I'm going to say that. It's not like, oh, this was like so relaxing, but it was like, it was a feeling of release. And over time, the more that I had, the more I was able to feel in my yoni, but also feel all around me. And so I've become much more, my orgasms have become much more vibrant. And I also experience now a lot more energetic orgasms.
So what I'm hearing is there's a shedding of old stuck feelings, experiences, associations, cultural conditioning that you had around pleasure that then you were holding in your body.
Yes. And I would say not all of it was even mine. That, my Catholic lineage, 2,000 years on both sides, all the way back, where, pleasure is shamed, denied, suppressed, that was also stuck in my body.
Now, Janelle, you mentioned shame, guilt, and fear. And I just want to point out that while an erotic massage, I believe, can be beneficial for someone who's gone through sexual trauma, your shame, guilt, and fear is not about that. It's just from
conditioning, yeah. But shame is, the feeling of shame is there. And so I had shame when I got caught making out with a guy that I was dating in my bedroom, by my mom. I had shame when my neighbor caught me playing doctor. My neighbor's mom caught me playing doctor with my neighbor. And she was like, I never want to catch you doing this again. I'm going to tell your mom. Right? Like, these things, I was young, and like they really stayed in my system. And there's a book called The Body Keeps the Score, which talks about, I didn't know this, of course, until I started this journey of understanding that our body holds on to all of these experiences of life that we have. And some of this experience of shame and fear and guilt can get stuck.
Yeah. I mean, this is really the basis of Hakomi, the therapy modality. And so now I'm thinking about, I could still think back to having sex with my boyfriend, and I still think of it as this amazing experience, but I had to sneak it, right? It was totally something I snuck, didn't tell my parents about for many, many years, sneak out of the house. It was like something to be hid. And I guess there's something to that when you're a teenager. But I'm even thinking now as a mom, what I am doing essentially, or could be doing to my child, is punishing them for like, oh, no, you can't be making out. You can't be having sex. Don't do this. Don't do that. There is a sort of negative connotation around those physical interactions.
Right. I think there's just so much fear around it, and there's not an open acknowledgement that whatever feelings are present are normal feelings. They're okay, those feelings.
Yeah.
And so now what's the healthy way to express those feelings? Right?
Okay,
And
that's the mic drop. Like, what's the healthy way to express those feelings?
and how can you feel safe expressing them in your body? Is the person you want to express them with, right? Do you feel safe with them, or are you feeling coerced by them? I mean, like,
Of course.
there's so
Yeah.
many skills in this area that we don't get taught at all.
Yeah.
And I also just want to call out the hidden part, right? Like self-pleasure. How many of us were like, oh, you can't
Not supposed to do that.
Not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
Can't talk about it. Can't be seen
Yeah.
doing it. Things like that. So pleasure is suppressed in so many ways in our culture.
Yeah. Okay, so I know that you offer erotic massage. So why don't you tell us all about that? What does that look like?
So for me, the way that I do it is I actually also combine it with a ritual Cleopatra bath. So for women, there is a warm bath with milk and honey and Epsom salts and rose petals. And then I'm outside the tub and I'm there to witness, to bathe, to receive whatever comes up. And that can be emotional. It could also just be talking. I'm holding often this archetype, oftentimes a mother archetype, but a feminine archetype. And for many of my clients, this is the first time in maybe ever, but certainly in years, where they're having this much like loving attention and presence poured into them. And they just get to receive that love from me. And then after that, then we transition to doing the yoni massage. And the whole experience can take about, 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah, it sounds amazing. Bravehearts, don't you all want an erotic massage and a Cleopatra bath?
Yeah, I actually call my sessions, I call goddess activation sessions.
Goddess activation sessions. Nice. In the goddess temple. So, Janelle, what made you want to offer the erotic massage?
Basically, I had such a positive impact through my journey of getting in touch with myself that as I started becoming a practitioner, that I wanted to offer this to women. And I've become such a huge advocate. Really, it's like my life's mission, to normalize the need for education and skills in the areas of pleasure and intimacy, and prioritizing erotic wellness as a way towards healing.
So, Janelle, what is erotic wellness? How do you define it?
Erotic wellness is a personal journey where we are unlearning our conditioning that we've received that pleasure and sex is bad or wrong. And instead, recognizing that it is foundational for our well-being and our health, and our erotic energy or life force energy. When it is flowing, we feel more alive.
Beautiful.
So, in my experience, when I learned to listen to my body and to release my cultural conditioning and the Catholic conditioning regarding what pleasure and shame was, that I started to feel much more radiant, much more vibrant, and felt much more alive. And so I want that for others, like prioritizing our erotic wellness, just like we go to a therapist now, right? Mental health didn't always used to be on trend, right? I'm just saying, hey, erotic wellness, it's the same kind of like, we need this in our everyday life in order to feel more whole and more human.
Beautiful.
Erotic wellness is a journey where we deepen and understand deeper layers of ourself. And that journey can include breath work, conscious touch, energetic exchange, and power play. And once we start to experience these dynamics and understand ourselves better, then all areas of our lives can transform.
Would you suggest doing erotic massage with a partner?
I believe our erotic journey and our erotic wellness journey starts with ourselves. And that it's great if you want to learn education and skills with your partner, super important, but that I really believe that there's a huge benefit to hiring an outside person, a professional, to help you embody some of these skills and practices, because then you can become a better lover for yourself. And my experience has been when I became a better lover for myself, then I knew what my pleasure was. I knew what turned me on. And then I was able to become a better lover to my partners.
So what I'm hearing is that you're creating more intimacy with yourself. And once you do that, you can create more intimacy or better intimacy with a partner.
Yes.
That's big.
Yes. And I also recognize this is edgy. This is taboo. This is what we do here on Permission to Be Human. And so ideally, you're able to have these open conversations with your partner. I recognize that even approaching this subject can already feel maybe edgy and threatening.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get into our reasons. So why would someone get an erotic massage? How can we encourage our Bravehearts to think about, maybe I need an erotic massage?
If you feel you would need, like, what would lead you to an erotic massage could be that you feel stuck in relationship with your partner. If you feel stuck or unfulfilled in relationship with yourself. If you would like to discover your pleasure pillars.
What are pleasure pillars again?
So pleasure pillars are the things that help you feel safe in your body. And in my case, they're trust, a relaxed nervous system, and laughter. And another reason for an erotic massage is that you have unspoken desires. And a fifth reason is that you have pain in sex, you have low libido, you have trouble orgasming.
It sounds like perimenopausal or menopausal women might be going through some of these symptoms, thinking they don't want to have sex, when really they need to reawaken their life force through an erotic massage.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. That's has been my experience, is that I've heard many women say, oh, I just don't want to have sex anymore, and view that, I'm going to say, as a life sentence, or just like, this is how it is now going forward. And
like it's over.
It's over, right?
Like too late. I'm done.
I've hit menopause.
I've hit the wall, and like, that's so sad.
Right.
Yeah.
And in my experience is that we know so little about menopause. We know so little about our bodies. Women are not encouraged to prioritize their pleasure, that by reframing our relationship with our pleasure and understanding of our bodies, then it actually can awaken our libidos. That there are lots of reasons, and all of them justified as to why women don't want to have sex. And it could be that their partner's also not very good at sex. That they've been with them a really long time, and it's nothing that's not that great. They haven't enjoyed the sex that they are having.
Yeah.
So understandable not to want it anymore. Easier to say, oh, I just don't want sex anymore. But my experience with my clients and with myself has been that actually when I've learned what it is that I desire, when I can speak my boundaries, when I feel safe, when I have trust, all of these things have actually awakened the sexual desire back up, or have reawakened sexual desire and libido in women. So there are lots of reasons why women don't want to have sex, but I don't think, especially in our 50s and menopause, that it is a biological thing, that we are destined never to have sex again.
This is fucking amazing, y'all. I mean, this is huge for so many people that I know and talk to who are done with sex, not interested in sex, feel like, and they're not even depressed about it. They're just like very matter of fact.
Right. And for me, sex is this euphemism of thinking, oh, it's like, oh, I just don't want like P in the V kind of thing. But what I'm
what?
saying, the penis
Oh,
in
the
the
penis
vagina.
in the vagina. Sorry. That is kind of a new one for me. Like you said this, I think, recently, and I'm just like, P and the V. Okay. Yeah. Like it totally makes it feels like an acronym a teenager would use. It's probably true. But
yes, I think
that's why you know it, right? I've never heard of it. Like before 2 months ago.
And of course, we're also like heteronormatizing this conversation here.
Of course.
So,
that's our
right,
experience.
So two women who are having sex, who are both in menopause, could have this exact same feeling, right? So I
right.
just want to acknowledge that.
Okay.
What we're missing out when we think of sex as an act to be done, then we're missing out that what we're trying to activate is our eros.
Ooh,
and our life force energy. I came up with that on the fly. Totally. And
act versus activate.
And that when our life force energy is activated, we feel more alive. And that's what I want for women, is I want them to feel more alive.
So good. Yeah. So good. All right, so I guess a mainstream magazine did an article on erotic massage recently, which was huge, huge,
Yes.
huge.
Yes. Shout out.
Right, shout out to women's health. Right, but despite the fact that it's not accredited yet.
Right. Yeah. This is what was so impressive about this article that Arielle Domb wrote about. Was she wrote it from the perspective of why more and more women are paying for erotic massages. Mm-hmm. When I read this article, I was so excited to share it with you, and then, so I know you read it too. And so the article mentions, like, she interviews a couple of different clients as well as some practitioners, and one of them is a couple where the husband actually encouraged the wife, who had a low libido, no longer wanted to have sex, encouraged her to go see a practitioner, saying something along the lines of, I'm fine if you have orgasms with someone else, just don't, fall in love with them.
Yeah.
And she went to this practitioner, and she did end up having this incredible orgasm that activated her libido, that when she got back to her husband, that really reawakened a robust sex life between them.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And what did you find about the article?
I just found a couple of quotes that were just kind of mind-blowing, in that, like, she mentioned that women find, after going to these erotic massages, that paying for sensual services is empowering, and it's enabling them to fight back against the misogyny and kind of misogynistic norms that make them feel unsafe, unheard, unseen. And this really resonates with me because I've read so many articles where they mention, online dating is not what it used to be. Dating apps are terrible. People are texting back and forth. It's all this like sort of exchange, transactional rather than actual relationship based. And women are just like, I don't want to be treated like a woman in a porn video, right? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I don't want to sort of just have this experience again and again. And I only know women's experiences. I'm not saying all men are doing this either.
Right. And it's also like not even your experience.
Right. I have not experienced that with the dating apps, but I've heard plenty about it. And women also in this article talked about being turned on mentally, physically, and sexually. Mm-hmm. And I noticed it's not emotionally, right? Like, they're not emotionally attached during this erotic massage.
Yeah, I think that's the design. Isn't that it's not right. Supposed to be? But I will say this: it is. What I really want to call out on that is that this experience, right? Someone might be like, a Braveheart might be questioning, like, okay, you're going for what, a 3-hour session or 1 hour session, and you're having this intimate experience. How can it not be transactional? How can it be more than that?
Yeah.
And my experience, which is just really profound, is that with the right container, with the right practitioner, like, this deep, vulnerable intimacy can happen between strangers that is so nourishing, that is so healing, and that there are skills to be able to tap into this side of us. And as the quote said, right, emotionally, as the quote said, physically, spiritually, mentally, that we're not getting in other parts of our life. And not even in our partnership sometimes, simply because we have so many other things that we're focused on. Mm-hmm. So to have a couple of hours where we're really devoted to ourselves with being held in trust with a stranger can actually be really transformative.
Mm-hmm. One of the other women in the article said after having the erotic massage, she came out with kind of this empowering statement where she said, wow, no one is entering me with their penis until I've had my first orgasm.
I remember that.
and this is just an empowering position, not to say that there's anything wrong with your partner or what you've been doing, just that I think women think, I can't, it's not worth orgasming. I can't orgasm. I've never orgasmed before sex before, so it's never going to happen. And it's just sort of this ceiling. And now they're going to these erotic massages and thinking, this is totally possible. We just need a new approach.
A new approach, or the conditioning, right? How often are we conditioned to make sure that our partner's orgasming first,
right?
That the intention isn't on us, that it's taking us too long. I mean, I suffered from like goal-oriented orgasms, and I was taking too long for so long. And So whether it's, whether this woman said an hour, for someone else, it doesn't have to be that, but it's knowing what brings you to pleasure, and whether it's an orgasm, but like, where is your pleasure? What does it need? And then being able to speak it.
Yes. It's claiming it. It's
claiming
like
it.
knowing it and claiming it.
Yeah. And communicating it and saying to my partner, this is what I want. And then my experience, again, personally, and then also with clients, is that when we are standing firmly in our pleasure, that actually is in service to the other person. The other person, if it's a healthy, loving relationship, wants us in our pleasure. It's up to us to claim it.
Yes. It's not selfish to claim your pleasure.
No. In fact, I would actually argue it's selfless.
Yes.
Because then we are able to have greater capacity to show up in love and in patience and in presence with our children, with our colleagues, with our partners.
Yay. Oh my God.
We've just created a new industry here, people. That's what's happening.
Oh my God. So big.
Okay. And so, Bravehearts, we have a surprise for you.
Drum roll. Right.
Totally. Which is in anticipation of this episode, but also because we are close friends, that Andrea just had an experience. We just did the goddess activation session.
Yes. I just had a goddess activation session like 2 days ago.
Look at her now. Is she glowing? Do you see it?
Glowing? Do you see me glowing? Yes.
So I'm excited, Andrea.
Okay.
How would you describe your experience with me?
Well, I know Janelle well, obviously. But I did come in the house, and she floated down the stairs in this white dress I had never seen before and said...
I was in my ritual ceremonial whites.
Right. Absolutely. I'm sure you always wear that. But I had never seen it before. And she said, your bath is ready. And I thought, I already felt held in the feminine and by you. So it's a really big treat for me. I don't have a bathtub, so I never take baths. And what Janelle didn't describe earlier is that there's rose petals all in the tub. There's coconut milk.
Regular
Is that
milk.
right? Regular milk.
Yeah, honey and Epsom salts.
And honey and Epsom salts.
Candles are lit.
Totally. And so I closed my eyes and got in the tub, and I felt held by the hot water. And she did a series of sounds and washing on my body, and it took me a while then to feel completely held, received, totally focused on myself, out of my head and into my body, witnessed, really just completely surrendering. It felt amazing, but I didn't anticipate that. I was just like, okay, we're going to take a bath. And then she connected me even more to my body by doing some sacrocranial work in the back of my head, by touching, by washing, by making sounds. And that's when I started breathing and the tears started to come and my emotional release came. And then I voiced what was coming up, and I was thrashing a bit and moving through my chakras, and it really was, it was a beautiful spiritual experience that I did not expect to have in the bathtub.
Yay. Yay. And it's such an honor. I'm just going to throw that in. Like, not only obviously, working with Andrea, but with any of my clients, it's just such an honor for me to witness a woman's experience of feeling witnessed and being able to release the weight of whatever it is that she's been carrying. And again, there's no outcome on any of these experiences, and your experience was different than all my other clients' experience.
Yeah, I think the goddess activation for me was about being witnessed and held and received. Not for a second in a hug, not quickly in conversation with a friend, but for 5 minutes, and then, oh no, it's keeping going. Oh, it's still here. Oh, I'm still being received. I'm still being witnessed. And then slowly my entire body relaxes, and then it relaxes some more, and then it relaxes some more. It was beautiful. And that was just the first part of it.
I started doing these baths because this to me feels like what priestesses did in the temples back in Egypt, right? And I've read books, of course, on this as well, but that we held each other, right? This is like a ritual cleansing of whatever is going through a woman's day in her life, like the pain that we hold, the experiences that we hold, that we are get to be held in sisterhood specifically to help release those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I felt that. That's why it's called the Cleopatra bath. Mm-hmm. So we moved on to the massage part. I got out, I was dried off, very lovingly taken care of. And then she started the music, and she gave me, using oil, she gave me a massage across my entire body. Then there was a discussion of consent and boundaries, and then a permission to go into the yoni area. And then she performed a gentle massage on the external part of the vulva, the labia, the clitoris, and then followed by a 360-degree massage of the inside.
Yes, and just calling out that there was consent, multiple opportunities for consent along the way.
Yes,
right? I was
for sure.
Constantly checking into making sure that are you feeling safe in your body?
Yeah,
to go forward.
And this experience for me, Bravehearts, was not sexual. It was a deep relaxation into a different state of consciousness. A very poignant stillness. I felt like I was in a different plane and just either deep within myself, protected, nourished, witnessed, held. And it really was something I'd never experienced before. I think ultimately it's the worship. I don't know if that's too strong of a word.
No, it's the correct word. There's a worship. There's a devotion to the wholeness of you. In our culture, we have it said anything to do with the genitals means sex or sexual.
Yeah.
And what erotic wellness is really speaking to is that no, we are actually cannot be whole humans if we do not include this part of us. And so there are multiple ways to be able to touch our genitals. Some are sexual and some are not. And the experience that you had was me just feeling that, oh, here is this beautiful, open, vulnerable expression of a woman, of a goddess in front of me, and honoring your journey, honoring your path. And all of you, including your yoni, is part of who you are.
I think ultimately this deep attention of one person's hands, focus, energy in that area without the distraction of, oh, I can't find the right spot. Oh, am I doing it at the right pace? Like, how does this feel? Does this hurt? Without those interruptions or goal-oriented actions.
Right. You're not, and you're also not worried about my experience.
Right. Which is huge, of course. I'm not like, oh,
Caretaking
she's
me.
impatient. I feel like I'm fortunate to have had at least a couple of lovers, not until my late 40s, early 40s, that were interested also in worshiping and kind of exploring my body from a non-goal oriented perspective. But I think when that happened for me originally, I was like, oh, this is new. This is so different. It's completely foreign experience, really, from how it had been in the past. And this was, again, though, something altogether different because it was someone who I trusted, also someone of the same gender, who was someone who I knew was completely focused on me. Wow.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
And you called something out, right? There's practitioners of both genders doing this, right? So whether you seek out an erotic masseuse who is the same gender or a different gender, right? It can be both. My experience, especially for women, it might be counterintuitive because we're associated to sex, thinking sex like, oh, I'm not attracted to a woman, that you wouldn't see a woman.
Yeah.
Where my experience is that you can feel safer with a woman in your body. Not true for everyone, but that's what I'm offering. Yeah. And so you're getting to reprogram something. Like it's like almost less complicated.
Yeah, for sure. And I also felt upon further reflection after I got home and then slept and went about my life the next day, was that I'm constantly trying to tap into my body and make sure that it's speaking as loudly as my mind is. And I don't succeed, probably. I mean, much of the time, right? Because my head's in charge. And I just tend to stay there. And so it's really important. I know that I keep tapping into my body, and I do that by going to yoga or meditating or, just feeling. But I think this was a great form of maintenance to tap back into my body and say, oh yeah, my body keeps the score. Oh yeah, I should be listening to what my body's saying. Oh, I am in this body for the rest of my life. So let's make sure that I'm present inside it. So Janelle, what are a few things that other women have said after the erotic massage?
Yeah, I'm so glad, because what's so fascinating is that for all of my clients, everyone has a different experience, right? What it is that I'm doing is, this isn't a prescribed 5 minutes of here, 5 minutes on your head, 5 minutes on your arms, right? Like I'm doing a bathing that looks a certain way. Yeah. I'm meeting each woman where they're at. And one woman expressed that it was like going to 30 therapy sessions all in one, that she just got to speak, right? Like so much came out of her mouth. She just talked to me the whole time that she was in the bath. And I was just reflecting back to her what I was hearing. And she was like, oh. I'm like, you said this is your pleasure, but this is what's going against your pleasure. And so it was, that one was a very verbal experience. Yeah. Another woman who was in her 60s, who had just in the past couple of years discovered her eros and connecting to her sexual energy, and found it to be with her husband, and found it to be so exquisitely beautiful that the desire in her was to share it with another woman. But so she only understood sharing it as sexual, and then in her journey realized that that's not what she wanted. And so when she heard about my goddess activation session and she had one, it was she wanted to share this beauty, this feeling of aliveness that having her like eros run with another woman through this intimate connection. And then when I was giving her the massage, our energies were like in flow together. And so how she described it was that the goddess in me was activating the goddess in her, and the goddess in her was activating the goddess in me. And we were in this beautiful circuit together. Wow. I had another woman say it was just the most beautiful experience of her life. Like the trance state that she went into was one of pure bliss. And then I had another woman who, during the bath portion, shared the sexual assaults that she had experienced when she was in college, and had never spoken those out loud other than to a therapist, and was still holding so much shame. And so the bath really allowed a release of some of that. And then during the yoni massage, as we've mentioned, right, it's so much about, are you a yes to this or are you a no? And when we got to her yoni, I could sense in her that she was starting to freeze. And I said, you can say no. And her eyes got wide. And I said, would you like me to enter you? And she said, no. And I said, great. And she started crying because she realized that was the first time in her life she had actually ever said no to anyone touching her. And she had had a lot of non-consensual touch. Wow. So the experience can happen at any part of that journey, right? In any one of those 3 hours. Some people are more affected by the bath. Some people are more affected by the massage. Some people are just affected by this 3 hours of spaciousness, ideally with their phone off, that they're pouring into themselves. Yeah. Right. So I never know where the medicine is going to be. But then I had another woman just go into a very trance-like state where she realized that she was, when she gets to be so relaxed and so trusting, that she's in this deep state of surrender and stillness that she hadn't experienced that before.
So after an erotic massage, women have said it felt like 30 therapy sessions in one. One of them shifted their relationship with the feminine. Another one said it was the most beautiful experience they'd ever had. Another felt like it was the first time she had ever said no to anyone's touch. And yet another woman felt in complete surrender as she was being bathed and touched, something she'd never felt before. This is huge. I mean, this erotic massage really makes a difference in the way we feel in our bodies. So Janelle, if a Braveheart wants an erotic massage, where do they get one? Like, besides coming to you if they're not in Denver.
Right. So fortunately, there are a couple of sites that I would recommend. But I want to name, before I go into that, I just want to call out what this article I think did such a great job doing. We started out talking and joking about happy endings, right? Paying for erotic touch has often been in the realm of men. And it has also been judged, right? A man is bad for doing this, or, you know, like he's going outside of his marriage, or there's so much negative connotation. So this article I felt did such a great job of kind of breaking open, not discussing that, but instead saying, what are the benefits here? And women specifically, what are the benefits for you if you choose to pay for sensual touch, for erotic touch? And that just normalizing it and seeing that actually if all of us normalize it and then sought it out, that it can be helpful for having more fulfilling relationships with ourselves and then with others.
Wow. Okay, so if this is a form of wellness, should I be having an erotic massage on a continuous basis? Is this something I should maintenance?
I think it's definitely possible. The article speaks to, like, some women in the article had one experience and it changed a lot for them right away, right? It took me many experiences before, not before I had an experience, but like it was like, oh, I was on a journey, right? I was like, okay, I'm in an experience of trying to unlock something, and it didn't happen overnight for me. It didn't happen in one session. So again, every woman is going to be different in this realm. And I would say, so yes, just like we go to a talk therapist for maintenance. And we've spoken about this regarding holistic pelvic care, right? This is a maintenance thing. And but I also acknowledge that we are dabbling in these areas of us even talking about this. We are broaching subjects that are laced with shame, that are hidden, that people don't talk about. And so even being able to say out loud, I want to go to see someone like this, is already having to break through to a deeper layer of ourselves. And so then, if you acknowledge that you want to see someone, then who do you see? Right? There is no accredited practitioners. And so the really going through trusted resources. I know lots of facilitators. You're also welcome to reach me out. I know them around the country. But you can also, there's a couple of sites. One is called sacrederos.com, and we'll put it in the show notes. Another one is called sensually.com. That's actually mentioned in the article. And I'm actually on both of those sites. And these, I'm not personally like advocating for any individuals on these sites, but these are people who are skilled, trained, devoted to sacred sexuality, to conscious touch, and who view this work as a healing modality.
Lovely. Okay, thank you for that summary.
Thanks for asking, and thanks for doing the experience with me. And
Yay! Thank you, friend.
Bravehearts, this is a window into a deep passion of mine for men, for women, that we can be more in touch with our bodies, that we can heal our like these feelings of shame and guilt around our sex, around our pleasure.
Yeah.
And acknowledge that our eroticism and our erotic wellness and prioritizing that will make us feel more alive. And I am an example of that.
It's true. It's true. Beautiful. Thank you for listening, Bravehearts. You can always visit us online at permissiontobehuman.live or join us for a Braveheart conversation. We love you. Bye.
Bye.
Do you need permission to be human? You got it. Listen, subscribe, and review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Learn more about us at permissiontobehuman.live.